What'd you say? A video? Today? It's my day off, guys. Alright, because I love you so much, here's today's video. Alrighty guys, welcome back to Cobra Vids. This is another video on motorcycles. Just recently, I've gone on a long trip to Reno, Nevada and back here to Arizona to go see my father. And as you can see, my bike got real dirty and it needs a good detail. Bugs are splattered all over it, as you can see. It hurts me to see my bike like this. All the chrome is splattered and dusty, and I ran through a little bit of rain, so it really took a toll on the cleanliness of my bike. Even the saddlebags have some splatters on them. But anyway, I'm going to be doing a few things in this video. I'm going to be doing a service. I'm going to change the oil, change the filter, and I'm going to pull off the air cleaners to check those and make sure that everything looks nice and clean. I've got roughly 6,000 miles on the bike, so it is ready for its second oil change. I had the original that was 600 miles break-in. I changed it, and then this time I'm changing it at just under 6,000, but it'll work. I'm using synthetic, so I can go all the way up to the 9,000 miles for the next oil change, no problem. They recommend every 3,000 miles change oil, but as you know, synthetic can go a little longer, but I don't like to stretch it too much, so I'll go 3,500 miles easy on the oil. But that's all I'm really going to do today. I'm going to start getting the oil change, and then another video I will go through and completely detail the bike. Okay, first of all, I'm going to get the bike's oil draining. And we'll locate that drain plug. This is a 2017 Kawasaki Vulcan LT, and the drain plug on this one is a 17 millimeter, just like my Suzuki. That must be pretty standard. Here comes the oil, guys. Okay, well, while that's draining, I'm going to go ahead and work on getting the oil filter off. Okay, the oil filter is back in here. You have to remove the rectifier off the front here in order to get to that oil filter. All of these bolts here are 10 millimeter. Makes it pretty easy that way. First you have to pull this cover off. Oil's still draining out pretty solid. I use 1040 synthetic. Okay, so we got that, and there's two bolts right here. Also 10 millimeters. I can get it started on here. There you go. I'm gonna be pretty mindful of the oil pan down there. I don't want to drop my bolts in the oil. Okay. Alrighty. So you can set this aside just like that. And then unfortunately you have to take the bracket off too, which makes it a little inconvenient, but you only do this every 3,000 or so miles. In normal riding, I wouldn't do 3,000 miles in such a short time. I rode my motorcycle 1,800 miles on my trip, and that finished out the oil change. Alright, so that bracket's off, set that aside. Right here is the oil filter. So now we're going to have to get something to pull this off. I do not have a wrench for this, so I'll just grab some large pliers and break it free. It shouldn't be too difficult. But before I start spinning it off, I have to tuck a rag under here because the poor design of this will run oil down my starter. That, in my mind, is a poor design because it just makes things messy. And if you spend, you know, $12,000-$13,000 on something, you want to keep it as pristine as possible. So something I learned my first time pulling this off is I needed to catch the dribbling oil. And of course, doing it this way is going to dent and damage the filter, but at this point I really don't care about that. All I care about is getting it broken free. Just bump the camera there. Okay, there we go. Sure my rag is in place. Then we can just back this out. Oil's dribbling out this way. Looks like I caught it all. Very fortunate, so I'll go ahead and drain a little bit off in there. Okay. Alright, so I'll leave that rag in place there just to catch some dribbles for a little bit. Okay, next is the air cleaner. This is the cover for the air cleaner. So we'll go ahead and grab an Allen socket and remove this. Most of these little Allen, the small Allens, are the same, and it's a V4. I don't know if that means anything to you, but that's what it says on my socket here. So we'll go ahead and loosen up these. Keep in mind that this isn't metal. If you go to do this, be very careful with your tools around it because you will scratch it. And they are plastic and they are not forgiving at all. I would much rather have all metal, but that would also raise the price up of the bike itself. I think out the door I paid $12,500 for it. Alright, here we are, guys. Here's the air cleaner. And doesn't look like it's removable. So this whole unit probably has to be swapped out. It doesn't make me very happy, but if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. Okay, so I can see that it's very clean in here. Evidently there was a little bit of oil buildup in here. So if you go to do this, be very careful, and you might want to catch it. Must be some oil vapors that come into here. That I do not like, guys. Oh, look. This does come off pretty easily. You can tell this is my first time pulling this off. So we're kind of learning together, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this piece out of here. Very cool, guys. Okay, now see, that's a whole different story there. You see how dirty that is now? I'm just going to grab my air compressor and blow it out a little bit, but we'll continue to use this for another oil change. I don't know how often you would have to replace this. I'm going to check my service manual and find out how often they suggest to replace this, because that's starting to get pretty dirty here. Okay, I wanted to show you a simple blowout will do wonders for your air filter. I stopped right here. I did all the way over here. I did a little bit over here, but when I got really close, it started blowing it out pretty cleanly. So I checked the book and it says 10 to 15,000 miles change this. So that's what I plan to do. Probably within my next oil change, I'll probably change this next oil change or two. But if it continues to come out this dirty, I'll go ahead and change it so that I'm breathing clean, because there's nothing worse than a dirty air filter dragging down your engine power. Okay guys, so since we've got that blown out, I just wanted to take a quick peek in here and make sure that there's no more oil vapors that have found themselves in there. Okay, so now we're ready to put this part back together. Set that up in there, and then we can start bringing this in. Pretty soon I'm going to have to take a break on the video and go collect my parts to get this back together. And then we can start on the detail job. It's always fun to detail your bike so that it starts looking pretty again. Everything's shining. Okay, so now we'll just get the cover back on. This would be a really nice time to polish up your chrome, but since it's easily accessible, I'm not going to worry about it. I'll do it with it in place. Okay, now these screws, I'll just use my experience to tighten up. I'm sure there's a torque spec on them, but I'm not going to look them up. I would say probably a few foot-pounds, or a few inch-pounds I meant. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the air filter. Now we're going to go back to the oil. I hope you're able to see this, but from the drain plug, which is right here, it dribbles back to the back. That's why I have the pan shoved under there so far. That there is something that needs to be wiped down, and there is an awful lot of dirt on the bottom of my engine here. So when I put the drain plug in, I'm going to spray some degreaser cleaner, the Awesome that I use, and I'm going to clean up the bottom of the engine right now to get a head start on detailing the engine out. So I'm going to put the drain plug back in. Alrighty guys, I'm going to go ahead and go to the parts store. I'm going to grab my new oil filter and oil, and then I'll be back to finish up the video. Alrighty guys, I am back from getting my oil filter using a High Flow Filtro brand. This is a highly recommended filter for replacement of the original. They don't have any in stock of actual Kawasaki, or I would have bought an actual Kawasaki. But this one is supposed to filter down smaller than the normal Kawasaki filter. So we're going to go ahead and use this one. This is an HF303. So first of all, though, I want to get the drain plug and the oil back on. I had a copper sealing ring there, but I don't know what happened to it. It's not on the block. It's not on the... So I'm sorry. I just knocked my dog out. But anyway, and I don't know where it's at because it's not on the block. It's not on the screw. So I don't know, guys. But one thing I do know is I got a new one. I always replace that seal, and it's thrown in here. Here it is. There it is. That is a sealing ring for the drain plug. And that's replaced every time you change your oil. Don't reuse. Because if you reuse it, you're going to wind up leaking after a couple oil changes. So just spend the extra couple cents and buy it each time. Alrighty, so I'm going to pull this oil pan out of the way. And I change my oil in this Kawasaki every 3,000 miles. I might go, a few hundred over, but I'm pretty consistent. And what I do when my oil's out is I dip my finger in it. That's actually pretty clean. I could have probably went another 2,000 miles because synthetic oil, you can get more mileage out of it. But my book says every 3,000 miles, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. Like on my Volkswagen Jetta, the factory says change it every 10,000. Well, that's bullshit in my book. The first oil change I did on my brand new Jetta was at 10,000, and that oil was blacker than anything. So I do my Volkswagen at 5,000 miles. So, and it all depends on the dirtiness of the oil, and this oil is not that bad. I could bottle this up and use it in my GZ, which is a lot higher miles, and I could actually reuse this in there. But not saying that I'm going to, but I could. Okay, so first things first, let's go ahead. My drain plug is up against the engine block. I'm going to snug it up, and then we're going to torque it. Okay, it's snug. Now we're going to torque it. Okay, guys. Well, I cannot find good information on torquing the drain plug. So what I'm going to do is use the old-fashioned torque sequence, and that is simply by feel. I did it all the way flush finger and then about a quarter turn until I felt right. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and clean up the bottom of the engine now. There's some dribble marks since the bike is at an angle. I don't have it set up upright. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll just clean up the area here. Nice clean. One thing I've noticed I like is a lot of detail was put into this bike here. They have chrome pretty much at every area of this bike, which I really like the chrome. I hear a lot of people talking about Harleys and whatnot, but I can't see paying the extra money for a Harley when you could get a Kawasaki for half the price. And it looks sharp, it sounds good, and it runs great. The one thing I don't like about Harleys is when you fire a Harley up, the engines shake and rattle so much, a lot of vibration. This bike here, when you fire it up, you can't even tell the engine's running. other than hearing it run. I absolutely love this bike, guys. Okay, so now we're going to put the new oil filter on, and it's already pre-lubed. Isn't that awesome? So you don't have to get out any oil. It's already got a lube on it. So I'll grab my dirty grease rag here. I'm going to just wipe the mating surface off. With the oil filter off, this is the perfect time to clean up the inside area that you more than likely cannot get to when the oil filter's inside. Like the top of the starter where oil dribbles down to when you remove the oil filter, the back side, and everywhere else that you can't reach once that oil filter's in there. If you're a good bike owner, you will take very good care of yours. Okay, I usually go flush, you know, finger tight, and then I'll give it another turn, 3/4 turn, however I feel good about. And then I'll take my large wrench here and give it another 1/8 of a turn or something like that. There we go, guys. That's all I'm gonna do. Okay, so now we're gonna have to start mounting everything back up here. Okay, here's a mounting bracket for the rectifier. You know, on my my 750 Vulcan, it's way up underneath behind the engine, and rectifiers will get pretty hot because rectifiers will get pretty hot because they disperse extra power coming from the charging system. So having them up front where the direct air is coming, that's actually a smarter plan. I think they realize that. All right. Now this cover has a bunch of gunk on it, so I'll go ahead and clean it up while I have it off here. Of course, it'll be wiped down when I go through the detailing of my bike also, but we'll get a head start on it. Okay, looks good. And the smallest screws of this area here are for the cover. All right, guys, that's it. We've got the rectifier back on, oil filter. Oil's drained, drain plug is back in. Now all we have to do is we have to put oil in it. And the oil I've chosen is Mobil 1 040, full synthetic. Now the book says to use 1040, but 1040 full synthetic oil is very hard to find for some reason. I like to use Castrol, but I couldn't even find a Castrol 040. And I consulted Kawasaki dealer with this, and they said that it's fine to use the 040. The upper number is the important number And the way I understood it, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the 0 rating is only for initial startup. Once your oil pumps up, the 40 is the upper number, and that's the important one. 0 weight would be used in really cold climates because the 0 would be the easiest for an engine to start up. Okay, as for adding oil to the Vulcan here, this is the plug. The rag, of course, is to protect my bike from being scratched. Alrighty. As you might already know, the indicator, the level indicator, is way up underneath here. Let me see if I can get some light on that. Okay, that is the engine oil indicator. You have to check it with the bike sitting level, not leaned over, or you're going to have too little oil in your engine. All right, so here's the low mark, and up here is the top mark. They're just a little notch in this ring here. So what I do is I fill it up a little over halfway with it sitting level, and then I fire the engine up, let it cycle through, shut the engine off, let it set for 20-30 minutes, and then I check it again. That way all the oil drains down, and it should be about middle. A little higher is okay. A little lower is okay too, but I prefer to have it in the middle or a little higher, and that way there you know you have plenty of oil in there. Okay, this is not very hard to do. Okay. And then I'll start just adding it in here, just like that. And this bike takes like 4 quarts of oil almost. And we'll just dump it in there. Okay, we'll put 3 quarts in there and then we'll set it up right and just take a peek at it. Okay, we've put 3 quarts in. Going to lift the bike up. I'll lift the bike up and take a peek at it. This is hard doing this solo. Usually have my son out here helping me hold up the bike so I don't drop it the other way because I lost my balance with it. Okay guys, that's actually showing full. So I'll go ahead and snug that up, and now we'll fire it up, let it cycle through. Okay, so we cycled it through, and now we're going to let it set, and then we'll come back a little later and check it again. Okay guys, to wrap up the service video, what you have to do is you have to check the water levels, make sure that your oil's back to normal, and how you get to the water reservoir tank, it's right behind this panel here. I'm going to take it down and I'm going to show you how to get to the water reservoir. Okay, first of all, right in the seat area, right here, there's a screw. And that screw has to be taken off in order to get this cover off. And I'll show you why. Okay. That screw has to come off in order to pop this out of its holes, because here is the fill cap for the water reservoir. And then you take the number 4 Allen socket, and then you undo this screw, and then you have another panel to pop off here. Okay, and voila. Here is your water reservoir on the bike. What I'll go ahead and do is go ahead and wipe it down and wipe all the dirt off of it while I'm here. And also you see the belt. You can see that that is a solid belt. There's no slack in this belt at all. Anyway, when you put the bike upright, when you put the bike upright, it should be above this L mark here. This is the low mark, this is the full mark. You want it to ride somewhere in the middle here. And if I was to set this bike upright, that's about level right there. And you can see it's right about the middle, okay? So my water level's fine. If it's down low toward the low mark, add a little bit of water in it, but make sure it never goes above the full mark because there needs to be some room in there. Okay, well that's that. And we're going to put this back together. Okay, put this screw back in here. And this does not have to go very tight. You could almost do it finger tight, but I'll put this back on here and just give it a little snug. Okay. Now the plastic cover, and keep in mind that there's these little tabs here that have to line up here, here, and up here. It's always better to line up the bottom one first. Bottom one first. You can feel right under here, you can feel it. I like to get it popped in there, and then I line up the keyhole and it kind of guides itself in. And then you just replace the screw here and then you're all set. Okay, now I'll just replace the seat here. And it's in there. Okay, the last things that you want to check. Here is the rear brake fluid. You can see the line right here, right about here is where the low is, and right about here is where the high is. So you want it in the middle somewhere, and with my bike leaned that way, it's plenty above the low mark. So I know that when I tip it forward, it's going to be in the middle or a little higher. So I'm okay with that. The next thing is right here. This is your indicator hole for your front brake fluid, and if that is down into here, you can see the line right there. If it's down toward that, then you add some, and I believe this is .4 brake fluid, so don't add anything else, and I believe the lower one is .4 as well. Okay guys, well that's going to wrap up the service for this time. The mileage on my bike here right now is 5,400 miles, and I was going to do it at 6,000, but I went ahead and did it now, so it's good to go till 9,000 miles, another 3,000. All right guys, thank you very much for watching as always. We enjoy bringing these videos to you, so if you have anything that you would like to request video wise on the Kawasaki, please feel free to do so. I would love to bring that video out to you. All right guys, enjoy your summer. If you have a bike, get out and ride. If you don't have one, then get one. It's a lot of fun. Thanks for watching Cobra Vids, guys. Subscribe, like, ring the bell. We'll see you next time.